Welcome back to Dano Does Things. This week I am doing one of my favorite crafts, wool painting. Or flat felting, or needlepoint painting. I still haven't looked up what it's actually called, but nevertheless it is a very satisfying project. While you can display your piece on its own, I like to frame mine, so I'm starting with a piece of craft felt cut to fit into my frame. Though wool painting is a pretty forgiving process, you do want to think a little bit about what scene you are trying to depict first because you need to work in layers. Whatever is furthest away or in the background needs to be placed down first, and then you need to work your way forward. The scene I'm doing is of a simple winter cabin. So I'll start with laying down the sky, then some trees in the background, and then next we will be doing snowy hills, and then finally the cabin itself. It's also helpful to think about the scene first so that you're not wasting wool. I'm always trying to reduce waste when it comes to craft, and I'm always trying to make my supplies last just a little bit longer. So for example, I know that the bottom half of this scene will be snow, so I only have to put blue wool down to where the snow will start. If I didn't think it through and just laid blue wool down everywhere, then I would have to spend time trying to cover it up later, and it would be a huge waste. Much like painting with watercolor and acrylics, wool painting will go through phases where it looks really weird. Before it all comes together, you'll have to look at a very odd scene. I used to get really frustrated at this point because it wasn't looking how I wanted it to, but I've just learned to trust the process and to keep going because you never know what a piece will look like when it's finished until it's actually finished. It's like that old saying, everything will be okay in the end, and if it's not okay, then it's not the end. Adding multiple shades of the same color will allow you to create depth in your wool painting. In this example, I want to give the impression that the sun has just set behind the hills, so I'm using light blue along the horizon and dark blue along the corners in a rounded sort of shape to give off that impression. I personally like to use hand-dyed wool for painting like this because you'll inevitably get sections of wool that are dyed a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, and it just gives you more to play with. With the trees, I'm being careful not to felt them down super flat so that they almost float in front of the background sky, giving the piece a little dimension. Pay attention to the direction in which you are laying down your wool. You can use that to create shapes and emphasize your scene. Here I'm doing two hills, so I'm making sure that all the wool for the left hill is going in one direction, and all the wool for the right hill will be going in another. This will make the two sections more distinct from each other, even though they're the same color. Don't worry if your wool hangs over the edge of your craft felt backing. That's actually a good thing. That ensures that you can get wool all the way to the edge of your backing and you won't have any bald spots. Rolling the wool between your fingers will help you get that shape you want before actually starting to felt it down. Also, I've been using a 3-pronged needle for this craft so far, but for detailed work, a single needle works best. The smoke coming from the chimney is going to be just very lightly felted, so it seems wispy and, well, smoke-like. You can fill in any gaps and give the edges a once-over to make sure it'll stay attached to the backing. That's very important if you want to trim the edges and display the piece as is, but if you're framing your piece, simply tuck the edges over. A simple and beautiful winter scene to enjoy as you stay comfy and cozy at home. I hope you enjoyed this week's video and would love if you subscribed. See you next week for more fun, learning, and creativity.